In exercise 10.2, we've been asked to enhance the word counter program. And the first thing we need to do before we attempt enhancing a program is to look at the program and understand what the program is currently doing. If you look at the word counter program, we can see the shebang statement up top. We can see a function that's going to be called get words from file. This function will be pulling our kind of a source data from a file. And let's see what it's doing to it. It's doing a lot of prep work here by using the replace method of a string. It's knocking out things that might give us issue in there, such as commas and periods, and turning them to blanks. We could look in Python for commas and periods, but to Python itself, there's really there's not much difference between the letter A, which could be a word, and a period. And so what they're doing here is they're knocking those out. They're also knocking the line returns out too. So we're getting basically just clean words. We're then running a split, which would convert that string to a list, and with a blank delimiter. So this is really just cleaning up like a giant paragraph, and this file happens to read in the Gettysburg address, and it cleans out unnecessary things and nicely puts it into a list. So then we have the next function, get unique words. That looks like it's using a for loop, grabbing in and grabbing actually unique, getting the unique words from there. We go down here on the main function. It's going to call the other functions, but setting some things up is file name, Gettysburg address, print some stuff, and then calls our various functions, and then does some prints. So let's just run through this and see what our output's going to be. Okay, let's get number of words, number of unique words, and then it does a loop through there and calculate the occurrence of those various unique words that it can find in there. That's kind of cool. And what they're asking us to do is they want us to create another function to get the number of sentences that we can find in there. So let's work in that. Close this, and I'm going to put a test on there. I don't want to change the real source too much, so that's always good to have a backup copy or a new copy of what you're working on, so we don't if we go down the wrong path and we knock out some things we shouldn't have knocked out, we want to be able to get back to the original program. So we just have a different name in there. Okay. So let's just start working on our new function. So we're going to define a new function, and we're going to call it get sentences. And I think that should be descriptive enough. And we go to get sentences from file. That is very, very descriptive. And we're going to have it take in basically one parameter, which is going to be the actual file name. And you notice down here, I'm just gonna, it's basically just patterning it off of the one that exists. And if things are existing in a program and you have similar patterns, that's all the better, as long as what is existing does work and it does make sense. So this is going to be really, really similar to basically the one below it. So what we're going to do is we're going to just do a copy, because the first part truly, I mean, it truly is basically going to do almost the same or the same thing, because it's gonna, we just need to pass it a file name, we need to open that file, we need to read it in. Okay, now we're gonna have to do some deviation from the function below, where this is getting words and files. We're gonna look for unique sentences, and one obvious thing is we're not gonna run this first, because that could give us issue, because we want to leave the punctuation in there, and because that's really, when we're looking at sentences, that's really what we need to do. And the Gettysburg Address, looking at that, we probably don't have to get too tricky. We could just look for periods. Obviously, if you might be looking for explanation points, also question marks, other sentence enders, things that would indicate that a sentence is there. So let's go here and let's start adding something to actually get these sentences. So we're going to go sentence equals. We defined it as text, like the other function, and we're going to do a split. We're going to go split, and we're just going to use a period. Here, like I said, if we were to have, this were to be some more bigger thing, and we weren't just looking for periods, we'd have to do a variety of things. But we're gonna look for a period, okay? And so basically, we're gonna convert that string to a list. Divided on the period, and we're going to copy that comment out there over here. It's good to do something like this. It's much usually good to good to say what's going on. So we know we converted that to a list, and then it's basically we're going to return and we're going to return sentences. Okay, so what we have going on here is that we're going to read in the same file, just like this. We're not going to do any of the replacements, but instead we're going to split. In how they split here, you can see they made their split based on a space, because that how individual words are separated, but the sentences are separated with periods. So we're going to split on periods. Then we're going to return sentences. Okay, that looks really really good to me. Let's go over to the main. Get unique words. Let's get our sentences. Okay, so let's start working our own. And we're say get sentences. Okay, and then we gotta call it here. And so we have a comment saying what we intend to do. And we say sentences equals, let's copy the name of our function, get sentences from file. And we're going to have to pass it the file name, which in this case is file name, Gettysburg Address. So let's copy that down into there. Okay, there we go. It looks like that should get it. It should bring back that list. Now we're going to have to print some of this stuff out. Okay, let's go where we're displaying all sorts of things. Okay, let's put another one of these display ones. Okay, so we're gonna go make another comment over here. Here we go. Display sentences. Okay, so we're going to do it in a real similar, a very similar manner. So let's just copy this. Okay. Okay, so we have number of words. Well, we're going to change that. We're going to change it to number of sentences. And okay. And what the len is doing here, it's counting the length of the list. And remember, we're bringing back a list, so it's just going to count the items. And in our case, in sentences, we have a list, right? And in this list is each sentence is element of the list, so it's just going to count that. So the len function will just count, since it's a list, will just count, you know, how many items are in that list, and that sentences are the items. So that's what's going to get counted, and that should display our our answer to it and what they, looking at exercise 10 to what they asked us to do. They want to get the number, so now we're going to run it. I hope it runs on the first try. Oh, and it did. Now we have to see that it ran correctly. Because as we know, sometimes things could run without any syntactical or runtime errors, but they might just not return the results as you expected. And I think we're all set. Found 11 sentences.